equation. Now I'm going to discuss how we would look for a new law. In general, we look for a new law by the following process.
You think you know what gravity is? Of course you do. You drop a pen, it falls. You jump up, you come back down. The Earth pulls on the moon. The sun pulls on the Earth. It's an invisible tether, a rubber band connecting every piece of matter in the universe. Fine. Newton gave us the math for it over 300 years ago, and it works beautifully. If you want to put a satellite in orbit or land a rover on Mars, Newton's equations are all you need. Gravity is a pull. Everyone knows this. It's not even a question worth asking, except it is.
Because here is what nobody ever stops to think about. What exactly is doing the pulling? If I told you that absolutely nothing is pulling that pen down, if I told you that gravity, the thing keeping you glued to the floor right now, is completely fake, you would think I was crazy. But I'm going to prove it to you. And when you actually see the answer, it is going to shatter your understanding of up and down forever. Let us start at the beginning. Isaac Newton was a genius, but his theory of gravity had a gaping hole in it. And the craziest part, Newton knew it. Newton said that gravity is a force of attraction between two masses. The bigger the mass, the stronger the pull. But he could not explain how it worked. How does the Earth reach out across 240,000 miles of completely empty dead space and physically grab the moon? What is the rope made of? Newton called this action at a distance, and he hated it. He admitted he had absolutely no idea how it functioned physically. He just knew the math worked, and for over 200 years the world just shrugged and accepted it. But then Albert Einstein came along, and Einstein realized that Newton's perfect math had a fatal flaw. Imagine the sun. Right now it is sitting at the center of our solar system, pulling on the Earth, keeping us in a nice steady orbit. Now imagine the sun suddenly vanishes, just blinks out of existence, poof, gone. According to Newton's math, gravity is an instantaneous force. The moment the sun disappears, the gravitational pull disappears. So according to Newton, the Earth would immediately fly off in a straight line into deep space, instantly. But Einstein knew something that Newton did not. Einstein knew that the universe has an absolute speed limit. The speed of light. Nothing. No object, no information, no force. Nothing can travel faster than 300 million meters per second. Light from the sun takes about 8 minutes to reach the Earth, which means if the sun vanished, we would not see it go dark for 8 minutes. We would still see the ghost of the sun shining in the sky. So here's the problem. If nothing can travel faster than light, how could the Earth instantly know that the sun was gone? How could gravity travel faster than the light? It cannot. Einstein realized that if the sun disappeared, the Earth would continue orbiting empty space for 8 full minutes. We would not fly away until the darkness finally reached us. But for gravity to travel at a specific speed, it cannot just be an invisible magical pull. It has to be a wave. It has to be a ripple traveling through a medium. But what is the medium? What is waving? To find the answer, Einstein created a thought experiment. And this is the exact moment where the clockwork universe falls apart. Imagine you are trapped inside a small windowless box, an elevator car, you are holding a pen. You let go of the pen, and it falls to the floor at exactly 9.8 meters per second squared. You feel your own weight pressing heavily into the soles of your shoes. You would naturally say, I am sitting on the surface of the Earth. Gravity is pulling me and the pen down. But what if you are not on Earth? What if you are out in deep space, millions of light years away from any planet or star or gravitational field, but attached to the bottom of your windowless box is a rocket, and that rocket is pushing you upward, accelerating at exactly 9.8 meters per second squared. Think about what happens when you let go of the pen in that accelerating box. The pen does not fall. The pen just hovers right there, exactly where you left it, in empty space. It is not being pulled by anything, but the floor of the box is accelerating upward. The floor rushes up and smacks into the pen. To you, standing inside, looking at it, It looks exactly like the pen fell. And you feel your weight pressing into your shoes, not because you're being pulled down, but because the floor is actively pushing you forward. Einstein realized something absolutely profound here. He realized that there is no experiment you can do inside that box to tell the difference between sitting perfectly still in a gravitational field and accelerating upward in empty space. They feel identical. They look identical. Your body cannot tell the difference between gravity and acceleration, because to the universe there is no difference. Acceleration and gravity are two words for the exact same physical reality. And this is where we have to throw away the most common, tired explanation of gravity. You've probably heard the analogy of a heavy bowling ball on a trampoline. It is everywhere. But it is fundamentally misleading because it relies on gravity pulling the ball down to explain gravity itself. That makes no sense. Let us look at it differently. Imagine two travelers standing on the equator of the Earth, miles apart. They both start walking perfectly straight north. They do not turn. They do not look at each other. They just walk perfectly straight. But as they get closer to the North Pole, they start drifting toward each other. Eventually, at the pole, they crash into one another. If they did not know the Earth was a sphere, they would look at each other and say, "There must be an invisible force pulling us together." But there is no force, there is no magnetic attraction. They were just moving in perfectly straight lines on a surface that is curved. This is exactly what the Earth does to the space around it. The Earth does not pull. It bends the invisible geometry of the universe. Space and time are woven together into a dynamic, flexible fabric. We call it spacetime. When you drop your pen, the Earth is not pulling on it. The pen is just coasting. It is following the natural, straightest possible path through a curved universe. It is freely falling along the invisible geometry of space-time. Light bends around stars for the exact same reason. The light is just going straight, but the space it is traveling through is curved. But it goes deeper than that, much deeper, because it is not just space that bends, it is time. Remember, it is called space-time. You cannot bend one without bending the other. And this leads to a truth so bizarre, most people refuse to believe it, because mass bends time. Time actually runs slower the closer you get to a heavy object. The gravity well of the Earth is literally dragging time itself to a crawl. This is not just a theory. We measure it every single day. The atomic clocks on GPS satellites in orbit are further away from the Earth's mass, so time runs faster for them. But let us push this to the absolute extreme. What happens when you cram an enormous amount of mass into a tiny space? You get a black hole. The curvature around a black hole is so violent, so extreme, that space and time literally switch roles. Inside a black hole, falling toward the center, is no longer a direction in space. It becomes a direction in time. You cannot avoid the center of a black hole, just like you cannot avoid tomorrow. It is written into the geometry of your future. What this means for you right now is incredibly strange. Because your feet are closer to the center of the Earth than your head, time is moving slightly slower for your feet. Over the course of your entire life, your head ages a tiny fraction of a second more than your feet. You're constantly being stretched across a time gradient, and according to relativity, everything in the universe naturally wants to move toward where time is slowest. The pen does not fall because it is pulled. The pen falls because the bottom of the pen is aging slower than the top of the pen, and the universe naturally curves toward the slower time. Let that land. The pen falls because time itself is warped. But here is the final mind-bending part of all of this. If the falling pen is just coasting on its natural path through warped space-time, then what about you? Right now you are sitting in a chair or standing on the floor. You feel a heavy force pulling you down. You feel your weight, but remember the box in deep space. You are not being pulled down. When you jump off a diving board, you suddenly feel weightless. Why? You are closer to the Earth. Gravity should feel stronger. But you feel weightless because you finally stopped resisting the universe. You are in free fall. You are finally moving along your natural path. Weightlessness is not the absence of gravity. Weightlessness is the absence of the ground pushing against you. The natural path for your body right now, the path that the curved geometry of the universe is begging you to take, is free fall, straight toward the core of the earth. The only reason you are not falling is because the floor is in the way. The entire mass of the earth, 6 septillion kilograms of rock and iron, is curving space-time, begging you to fall to the center. But a thin plank of wood on the floor can stop it dead in its tracks. How? Because of electromagnetism. The atoms in the floor are bound together by fierce electromagnetic forces. When your shoe presses against the floor, the electrons in the wood are repelling the electrons in your shoe. You never actually touch the floor. You are constantly hovering a billionth of a millimeter above it, suspended by electrostatic repulsion. And that tiny electromagnetic repulsion from a piece of wood is stronger than the space-time curvature generated by an entire planet. The ground is literally actively accelerating upward against your feet. It is pushing you up out of your natural path through space-time every single second of your life. You feel heavy not because gravity is pulling you down. You feel heavy because the earth is physically pushing you up. Gravity is not a force. It is the shape of the universe. You are living your entire life strapped to the surface of a giant rocky spaceship, and that ship is constantly, relentlessly accelerating outward, pushing against the soles of your shoes. The invisible rope does not exist. Newton's pull was an illusion. When you look at the world through the lens of relativity, you realize that the most ordinary things, a dropped pen, the weight of your own body, the ticking of a clock, are actually the universe bending around you. It is not about comfort. It is not about simplicity. It is about truth. If you want to keep seeing the world for what it actually is and not just what it looks like, please subscribe. New mysteries soon. Bye.